Alright everyone, haven't made a video for a while. Before I start, just want to point out for people without any patience, I talk for a long time in my videos. I don't script anything, I don't edit anything. This isn't a tutorial. I'm not doing it for anyone's, it's not my job. I don't make any money off YouTube. Of course I'm demonetized like most people. And so I'm just sort of, you know, talking about this thing. What I'm talking about in this video, Microsoft Surface Pro 8. It's just going to be an unboxing. I will start it up and have a look at it later, but first the unboxing. Just have a quick look at the hardware. On the way to that, I thought we'd just have some fun and look at a couple of other devices here. Surface RT, my very first Surface. This is the original Surface. It's a non-x86 CPU, and so these were the ones that had sort of they could run app versions. Well, they were desktop versions of Office, but they were non-x86 versions, so it wasn't the full suite. And so it was a lightweight. This was really their first. This was their iPad competitor. That was the point of this. It was an iPad. It had Windows 8, which was a touch interface, and it had Office, which is what the iPad didn't really have at that time. And so I got that on sale. I didn't buy it new. I bought it new, but I didn't buy it when it first came out. I was interested, but not really interested in a non-x86 tablet, because I had x86 tablets, other ones. And the RT wasn't, and so I wasn't interested. But it was they were being sold off really cheap at one point, and so I got one for my mom, got one for me, and my wife got one as well. And so we became Surface tablet owners, and here it is. This is that one out of that box. It still goes very well. I just turned it on because I had to stick the charger in, and so I know it goes because up until, I don't know, maybe about 3 years ago, I was using it as my Twitch streaming monitor, sort of as I would have Twitch running there so I could see comments or whatever, see chat, because I didn't have two desktop screens going at that point, and that was sort of convenient. They could run a browser, and that's no problem at all. Hardware-wise, these first ones were very nice, nicely made. They had this stand that didn't go all the way. At that point, I guess they were just trying to see, is it gonna last? Is it gonna work at all? It worked fine. That was a perfectly good angle. I used to use this in bed a lot. I just flipped the keyboard over like that. This is that funny non-clicky keyboard. It's just a flat thing, like a membrane. And having, grown up on Sinclair Spectrums, I didn't have much problem with that. I'm not a touch typist, I'm not an executive assistant or anything. I just bang away on it. And so I use it like that a lot. That was great. Where is it? On switch is up there. Now these were slow, but Microsoft made Windows 8 to look like it was sort of fast. And it was quite interesting. I could use this with clients and flip through web page examples and so on, just going swipe, swipe, swipe from the left. And people were always quite impressed with that. Because it was very slick. It actually worked really well. But otherwise, it is a slow computer. It's a 32 gig SSD, a very slow one. Some things were very fast though. So this bit here, there's the start screen. So this thing here, see, watch this. If I'm not going to put my password in, but my password, say I tap, say you go, tup, 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 boom, that would work. You see, it was three things, three stripes or whatever's on screen. I used 3 dots, and so the 3 dots on this screen, on this version of Windows, were very, very quick. See that? Dup, dup, dup. Dunk, 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 dunk. Very quick. I'm just going to do it. And okay. And I was pointing that out because it very soon changed and became very, very slow. But the point I'm making is that with Windows 8, I liked Windows 8, and it was very fast. Who remembers this screen? So you go left, right. That was sort of Microsoft's thing because they were doing panels on the phone. Windows Phone 7 had those beautiful hubs where things would go sideways. You go into your photos, and oh, please don't ring. Okay, phew. You could swipe sideways in your hubs and get to different screens, but with the same picture background. That was always really nice. Very cool. There's the old store. Don't know if this stuff still works, but you know, this was heavily promoted, and this had a purpose back then because it had the apps, not the desktop programs. And nowadays, of course, I can't see the point. I mean, they should have a store. Clearly, they should have a store, but it should just have programs in it, whatever in it. And I don't know how people go in and pick. They don't know if something is an app style thing, you know, for these mobile responsive type of apps, or if it's a full-blown program. Because with current Windows, this app interface is gone. It's just no longer part of it. Remember that? What do? You drag down to, how do you do it? Drag down to there. Oh, and then drop it. So you'd multitask would be open your app. And yes, this is a Surface Pro 8 unboxing, and I'm looking at a Surface RT. That's just what's happening. Okay, so that's right. You just drag down to multitask, and it'll be there. Where is it? Oh, my battery. Yikes. Oh, it wasn't plugged in. Come on. Oh, that's not doing well. It had the magnetic connector there, but it wasn't very good. It wasn't as good as they are now. You could use it both ways, up and down, which was nice. It has a little light on top. But it was not quite in right just then. Let's just try that again. So you have that open, for example. And the way they tried to make it seem quick was to have those transitions or those animations. So that opening animation to the interface with the icon in the middle of it, that would be quick and smooth. It would do this transition, and then it would sit there. No, I don't want to update. Oh, God. Come on. Oh, and then it goes to the store. Can you believe that still works? I doubt the current version installs on this. But let's go back to the start while that's messing around. I don't really want to launch a lot of stuff here because I don't know what's on it. Okay, I did hook it up to my wireless, so that works. There's Bing. Right. Whatever. Just tap something, see what happens. Oh yes, the tab's like that. I remember. You'd swipe up from the bottom. Remember that? Swipe up like that. Yes. That's just for the tabs. But for other apps, like switching between the store and the browser, and the weather, you just swipe in from the left. And that's fast. It used to work really well. Oh, do you see that? There are no updates available. That's the weather app, so now it no longer works. And remember, if you stop, you could do that sort of thing. Very cool. Go like that. I used to use that a lot. I really liked that. I use it on my phone a lot now. But as you can see, well, this is doing stuff, but as you can see, it's not that great. Pull that out there, let it update, and then swap around to the weather. No, see, it's not going to let me use the weather app because of that, but I'll drag it down and then get rid of it. Oh, it does that little flip thing. Remember that little flip animation? Yeah. That's cool. Store, food and drink, sports. Oh, maps. That was a, let me open money. That hasn't been opened. Maps. That was Bing Maps. What was that here maps? I think it was just Bing Maps at that point. And it's slow. Now note that this hasn't been opened in years. Years and years. So I don't know what it's doing, trying to find an account or whatever. I also liked this. Swiping from the right, get your clock, battery, Wi-Fi, and the full name of the day and the month. I like that. Obviously settings. Very simple. There's your Wi-Fi, volume. There. Okay, that is opening something. What's it opening? Don't know. Search was a single thing there. Everywhere, settings, files, images, and videos. And then the sharing. It was always hub-based. Those guys who did the Windows Phone 7 and Windows 8 always thought about the function rather than the app. So it was search as a function, share as a function, settings as a function, regardless of the apps. And like on the phone, you would have, you'd go to the, what was it, communications hub, messaging hub or something, and all your messaging stuff, from texting to Twitter, Facebook, I can't remember what else, there were various text-based chat things, would be merged into a single hub. And I like that. There's your messaging. You're not running around going, where did I get this message? Where did I get that message? I don't know. Ooh, we better set up a notification center and start looking at thousands of little, just a mess. So that app is not really giving us anything. It's dead. Yeah, that's a dead app. The other thing that is in here, flip, is the, oh, I love this. So there's your start screen. The idea was like this. You'd go left and right. That was quite a nice movement. Rather than moving your whole arm up and down, there was some logic to this kind of thing. That was a simple movement. Instead of, your whole arm moves like that. This way only your wrist moves. The desktop. Oh yeah, this. I like this. So you go like that. There's your start menu. Your programs menu. And because today it's crappy on the Windows. I've tried Windows 11. Really don't like. I can't. I always use the latest, but I'm not seeing any progress. Tell you that much. There's the old snipping tool still there. Remote desktop. All this stuff I still use exactly the same. Good old command prompt, of course. File Explorer there. And there's your desktop. There was a desktop app, wasn't there? One of these was a desktop app. I think they had an app that was like desktop or something. There's my remote desktop. Music, Groove Music. That was great while it lasted. Great while it lasted. And they threw that away as well. It's a real Microsoft thing, is to do something in the first version I always like. The first version is always great, and then, and then they throw it away. So what was I doing? Here's the desktop. So here you could use Word, for example. And it's got OneDrive. That's not hooked up because I don't want it downloading, 600 or 700 gigs of OneDrive. Welcome to Outlook 2013. What are we now? 2022. In a couple of days, it's 2022. Outlook is your person. No, I don't want Outlook. Account. You sure you want to exit? Yes. Because I tapped the Outlook thing. So here's Word. Oh, that's Word. Oh, this is probably going to try and download, which, oh, it might. Who knows if that still works. I'm not sure. I found this a very adequate office for mucking around with a few documents, a little bit of spreadsheet. I used OneDrive all the time, still use it. Yeah, that's not going to get that, probably. I don't know, maybe it is. Let's go back to the, what's that, the Stocks app. Oh yeah, there we go, the Stocks app opened up. That's still mucking around. And from the desktop, of course, you can get back to the combined start menu. I remember people had a lot of problems with this. It was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm in an app or if I'm on the desktop. I'm too stupid. That's how the reviewers tended to act with this. Yeah. Reading a list, I used that a lot. In any case, let's move on to the next thing. That's obviously not going to get anything. Well, how about get a load of that trackpad? Get a load of that little thing. I had no trouble with that because to me the trackpad was the screen, right? But you know, after Apple made who didn't have a touch screen on their computer, so they had to have this massive, massive touch pad thing. Now all the other devices have that massive thing, but this is so tiny. It's really a bit anemic. But the point was, you've got a touch screen. That's really the point of that. Okay, how's that clock looking? Ooh, look at that. That goes back a while. All right, so let's leave that one and go on to the next computer. Pretty happy with that. I was. Yeah. So I'll just let that continue charging. So that was the RT. Next. And I'm not going to open these because here's the Surface 2. This was also an RT type of device, but this one might be a busted one. My wife had the RT2. I did not. Yeah, there we go. Now this might be her RT and not the RT2. I think this is her RT because her RT2 she still has downstairs and she still uses. Even though she has a Surface Pro 6, she still has her RT kicking around the house, and she'll fire it up to let her mother watch something and stuff like that. And that was very good. She liked that. I mean, that was a faster computer. It sort of fixed everything that was wrong with the original Surface RT. So the RT2 was a good upgrade. But at that point, I purchased this one, Surface Pro 3. And that made it many years down the road until it got smashed on a tile floor and busted there. So that's the end of that. Was the end of that. I was very happy with that. It worked. This is the one that had the fan. It had the first. Oh, it's taped up. But this thing goes all the way back, and it worked very well. Yeah, that was a good tablet until I screwed it up. And quite frankly, in my opinion, the 4, the 5, which didn't have a number, the 6, the 7, all the same. They were just that. Different CPUs as they progressed. You know, different bits and pieces. Probably a bit of cost cutting inside, getting more efficient and so on. I remember I had to repeatedly get keyboards and power supplies for all these Surfaces. They never lasted. The power supply had the usual issue with the cables. The keyboards would either just stop working, a key would fly off, or it would disintegrate. There's one. That one was disintegrating, falling apart. This whole strip here, the magnetic strip, would just come straight off. Just you take your keyboard off the computer, and I don't know if you remember, what was that guy's name? Now, or Pa, whatever, the Microsoft guy. He gets up and does these Steve Jobs style things, at every Microsoft event. He goes, "Ooh, it's so good. Ooh, it's so good. Just look at it. Look at it. Look at it." That guy. He was holding it up like that. He held the keyboard up like that with the surface hanging off the bottom. He was sort of trying to show you that it was strong. And he didn't wobble it or anything, but he just held it for a moment. And, well, what he didn't tell you was that it was strong, so strong that the magnetic strip here would stay on the tablet and the keyboard would come off. This strip here would actually break off. And so I've glued a couple of those back together. And another keyboard just failed entirely. So that was the 3 that broke. And then I purchased the 5, which was just the Pro without a number. That was this one. And I've been using this until this day. It now has Windows 11 on it. And there we just saw the best part of Windows 11 is that the, what do you call it, the hello camera, the login camera, finally works. It actually works now. I mean, on all the previous ones, it was there. It was supposed to work. And you'd sit there and you'd go, "Oh, come on." You'd have to get in exactly the right spot, the right distance to make it work. Well, they must have cut down the security rating a bit just to make it work better, because you turn it on and it works just like that. So I'm happy with that. That was just a change from Windows 10 to 11. Did that. I installed 11 on it with a total wipe. 11 doesn't actually, this computer, the Pro 5, doesn't qualify for Windows 11 because of the CPU. But there's a simple way around that is to use the Windows Media Installation tool, which you just type into Microsoft Windows 11 Media Installation Tool or Media Creation Tool or something like that, and just have a USB key ready, stick it in, and you run that thing, you get the version of Windows you want, and it creates an installer on your USB key. You stick that in your device, press whatever the button is to boot off the device, and install it from there. I just did a total wipe, and that works fine. It bypasses that requirement when you do it like that. And so that works fine. It works perfectly. No problem there. Very surprised to hear. Now, I'm not going to do a review of Windows 11, but I will comment, because I haven't done it extensively, and other people will do that. Just a few things I notice. I don't really notice the good things except for 2 things. The Windows Hello camera works fast, finally. And the other thing, let me just turn that off and turn it on. This thing, it's not quite as fast, but there we go, you see? That's how quick. 1, 2, yeah, not quite as fast. But it's a lot faster than in Windows. After 8, what did they have? 10. Just all the different versions of 10. They skipped 9, didn't they? So all the different versions of 10. That password thing was so slow, way slower than it was on the RT, that it was just a pain in the butt to use. I still use it, but it was just really slow. You got to tap, tap, tap to make it work. So the login has been improved quite a lot. It's much quicker to get into. Very surprised to find it has a boot up noise, Windows 95 style boot up sound, although it's higher bit rate now, so you don't get all that static like we used to get in the office. What was it? Dum, 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 dum. All this horrible static. People got sick of hearing that, and so they stopped it. and for some reason it's back. I don't know who's designing Windows 11, but it's not anyone who has worked with Windows all the way through. It's new people. It's people who are probably young. They probably grew up with phones, with iPhones, and they expect everything to be like that. And they certainly don't have the same brilliance as the guys who did the Windows Phone 7 and original Windows 8 concepts. You know, the good parts of those are very good. Very good designs. The good parts are, the compromises are what they are, compromises, but the good parts were great. And ever since then, it's just been downwards, 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 just degrading those functionalities, removing them, getting rid of it, blah, blah, blah. And now with Windows 11, there's no tablet operating system left. None. There just is none. It's still a tablet. It's still the same tablet. But you have, just again, this is just a quick few points. Things I just hate. I've given you the two good things, right? I like that screen too. That's pretty. I always tend to keep the default Windows desktops because I quite like them. They always look quite nice. And I like the blue. And that's nice looking vector thing too, so I'll keep that. It's quite pretty. So that's another good thing. 3 good things. Hated the you'll notice I have the start menu here at the top. Obviously it's supposed to be at the bottom. I think they said they're going to eventually make it so you can get it back around all 4 sides, which is how it's been for 20 years. You've been able to do that, and along comes Windows 11. Whoops, you can't do it anymore. Oh, okay, great. But there's an app or a hack you can get, or a reg key, I can't remember what I used, to let you put it at the top, and you can also make it put the icons to the left. I like it at the top because I've always used my taskbar at the top, because to me, that's where your menus are. I don't want to go up and then down, then up and down. It should be more like, that's one thing that Apple did. All the menus are at the top. But then they went, oh, no, we're going to put our icons at the bottom. That's what Apple's done. So now you're going from the icons at the bottom with that weird sideways scrolling set of bouncy icons to the top, to the menus. And so it's up, down, up, down. Well, with Microsoft, it was like that too. You go from the start menu to the menus and then back and forth. Hate that. So to me, logically, should all be at the top. I like it there. That works. I can get it to the left because I'm using this a lot like that. I use this a lot like that. And, with my thumbs. If I'm in bed or whatever, I'm using my thumbs. And getting to the middle of the screen to operate something, that's not design. That's not good design. That's stupid design. That, I believe, what they were trying to do was make it look like an Apple desktop with all the icons in the middle, right? Like you have on that Apple start bar thing, and at the bottom. And I think that's what they were trying to do, just make it look like that for whatever reason. But usability is just not there. So at least now I've got the icon, start icon back on the left where I can hit it with my thumb. And then I've got this stupid looking screen, which I find completely hopeless. You've got this is now your start menu. And, at least it's on the left and I can tap some of these things. Of course, the way Microsoft did it is, no, it's in the middle. So you're going like this again. I mean, talk about, they really, really lost their lost direction in terms of making things usable, especially for touch and so on. They've just completely lost that. Anyhow, I got to stop complaining about it. I don't really care anymore. I don't care. That's sort of why I haven't done many videos, is that things just got worse and worse and worse. And it's no fun making stuff, and people don't want to hear you just complaining. They want to hear you when it's all hurrah, hurrah, and it's really good. And my early videos, that's what it was. It was all good stuff. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It's just not like that. Since then, it's not been like that. Most of these things, this is my Pro 5 with a Core i5 8GB and a 256 thingamajig. But 8GB Core i5, and this is completely wiped, fresh install. Some of these things, like the Photos app, dreadful. Let me just click it, I don't know what's going to come up, so I'm just going to take it off screen here. I will put it in a cannot stand the albums. Absolutely cannot stand the albums. Let me just put this somewhere where it doesn't. You can see me measuring up my broken shower door glass because my shower door exploded recently. So you open the Photos app, and you've got here your photos in the lower half of the screen. I've hated this thing since day one. I don't know anyone who likes the automatically generated albums. They're pointless. They never serve any purpose. And I don't want to see them. You can turn off that thing where it keeps telling you that it's created new albums. You can turn off that notification, but you can't stop it doing it. And you can't stop it having them here, but you can carefully tap that little thing right there. Make sure you don't get down there or above there, but if you tap in there, you can hide it. But you have to do that every damn time. So if anyone from Microsoft's watching, get rid of that. Just get rid of it. It's crap. And then you got the photos themselves. And this is vaguely sort of like it's always been. The old Photos app I really liked, worked well. It was quite fast back on the RT days and Windows 8. This also just gets worse and worse and worse because they keep adding stuff like the video thing that's never any good. This collection, which, you know, it's nice to have a single view of photos going back. That's great. I still use Google Picasa, obsolete program for photos. In my opinion, it's still the best one out there. It's fast, it's free, you get this same kind of view of all your photos, but you can really do something with them. It's really good. This thing here, so if you open a picture, there you go, something went wrong. Okay, whatever. What was that? You know, what the hell was that? That was just one of the photos. Something went wrong. Okay, so I've got the photo open. The first thing I do is I go, okay, that works. Doesn't work. You can't go to the next photo. What idiot came up with that idea? I guess we're going to, if they add that back in, it'll be some great new feature. Hey, swipe left and right with your photos. I mean, what the hell? I finally found out. I figured out eventually if you go full screen, no, I'm sure I had it work in full screen. See, now I'm stuck. And if you don't know what to do in this wonderfully intuitive interface, there. They love hiding the buttons. This is the new UI design of the 2010s to 20s, is let's simplify the interface by hiding everything. We'll just hide everything. We don't, if you put it on, oh, look at a beautiful interface I've created. It's so easy and intuitive. See, it's got nothing on it. But if you swipe down, you can get those little buttons, and the middle one does nothing. Let's try that again. Okay, that time we got it. You can go back up there. Everything takes 2 taps. And then you can go to your next picture, right? But, no. Somehow I made it work. Maybe it was through that full screen. Let's try. Nope. Come on. Everything takes 2 or 3 touches. I hate that. Somehow I got it working. But there you go. What a total failure that is. Oh, and you can't do this anymore. You can't close anything. I'm constantly doing that because, you know, for, what, 10 or 15 years, that's how I've been closing programs, right? No. So we do that. We go back in there. And, of course, it doesn't work first time. It never does. Let's try it again. There we go. And then we'll just close it. Gone. Hate the Photos app. Terrible, terrible program. Other things I hate. I just hate everything. Again, this is not a review of the Surface, but actually I better be careful what programs I do this with, just because of the, I'm just trying to find the weather. Is there no longer a weather app? Do I have to go to here? Remember on the old Surface RT, you just press that button, the whole thing comes up, swipe, and you swipe up and you get all your programs all laid out. You've got to get over to that little button there. You go from there. Oops. Yeah, from the start. And remember, this thing is in the middle of the screen, too. It's not over here on the left where I can at least sort of get to it with my thumb. And then you can go there, and you can see this stuff. And by now I've forgotten what I was looking for. There's weather. Just like on the RT, it wants to update. Come on, I can see that. Just do it. Let's open the store. Okay. You see, it's just as fast as the RT. Basically. There's the weather. It's making bleeps. Who knows why. So we'll maximize that. And now the question is, oh, I want to go and multitask. Not multitask, I want to tab. Let weather access my location. Sure. There we go. There we go. We've got the weather. Oh, crap. You can't do that anymore. You can't do this thing. So what do you do? Do you come up from the bottom? No. Do you go like that? No. Like that? No. Notifications? What the hell? Nothing. I actually had, after what? Since, how long have I been using this operating system? I actually had to go online and look up how to tab using your fingers between programs. And from memory, because every time I try it, it fails. I think it's 3 down or 4 down. No, that's close everything. Okay. Let's try that again. And look here, it's too slow because, oh, that's Firefox. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Oh, what have I done? I've turned something off. Come back. Did my power just run out? Well, I think you go up with 3 or 4 fingers. You drag upwards, and then you get this thing where you can multitask. I don't know if it crashed. Oh, the battery ran out. So we'll forget about that. We'll just turn that off. That is also why I've replaced this, because the battery lasts about half an hour. It's just no longer any good. My wife's Surface Pro 6, she almost never charges it. It just leaves it running all day, sitting in the kitchen in the lounge. It just runs all the time, and it's always running. It never runs down. I don't know why. This thing runs down super quick. And so there was a sale of 8s of this fabulous device. Well, I don't know if it's fabulous. We'll find out. I'm just going to quickly check the batteries on this here thing. 7492, that's good. I hope this phone will continue recording. I'm recording 4K. It's done 40 minutes. Christ. So back to this. I'm replacing that because it's being a bit flaky. Battery is bad. The keyboard split apart a few weeks ago. I glued all that together. It's just reaching a point where it's getting pretty dubious. And there was a sale that I almost couldn't turn down of these. And I hummed and hawed about it for a while. And then went, oh, I'll be mad if this craps out in a month or 2 or 3 or 4 months. And then I've got to wait till the next end of the year. or spend, waste. It was a good, I think I got about 35% off the whole price. I was pretty pleased with that for one of these. And the point was, it's a 16 gig, which is the one you really got to get, I think. The 16 gig, if you're doing work on it, 16 gigs, not the 8. If you're just doing nothing at all, well, the 8's fine. But I was able to get the i5 16 gig. I checked all the reviews, performance tests of the i7, because the i7 16 gig also wasn't that much more. It was also on sale. It was pretty good too. But it's really not worth it. More important to get the extra RAM. And it's a 256 model, which is plenty for me. What I normally do is I set my OneDrive to download on demand. If I'm traveling, I might download my work folder, because everything's organized very well in my system. Just keep my work folder on this. That's about 40 or 50 gigabytes. Plenty of room for it. And that's then on there all the time. Also got the way too expensive keyboard. Way too expensive. Signature keyboard with Slim Pen 2. Talking of pens, right, I've had multiple of these, and my computer's flat now, the Pro 5, but I'll just carry on with the hardware complaints about that. The pen's never reliable, just never reliable enough. You'd sit there, I would sit there, and I'd always have to, just do that, get the battery connecting again, and just sit there and just muck around, and eventually the little cursor would show up and I'd go, okay, here we go. Now I can, operate my Windows and so on. And same thing for this one. They both work, but it's just a pain in the butt. It's never so reliable that at any time I can pick it up and immediately it works. It just doesn't. Does not. Never did. I've had 3 pens and it's just unsatisfactory. Not good. The tips are a pain because if you drop them or muck them, they get stuffed up really quickly. The later ones the first ones are sort of a fibrous kind of stuff, and then it went a bit more plasticky, a little bit better. They're okay, but it's usually the tips. You actually got to get those spare tips. And so never happy with the pens. These buttons are impossible to use, trying to do them. They also changed the way the pens worked. Originally, it was basically like a mouse, and you just sit there, and in bed I could just use it like this as a cursor, as a pointer on screen to do stuff. And then they changed it. I don't know. I think it was with Windows 10. It was changed to they revised how this worked, and they separated that kind of pointy mouse kind of aspect from the drawing, and the pen became a drawing tool more than just a pointer and a selector and like a mouse. And I found that irritating because I used to use it like a mouse all the time. And so I think you had to push a button to do something, like to click and select and stuff there was something like that, and it just became pointless to use it. And because they were so unreliable, I gave up on those. The only thing I keep them working for is sometimes I'll sign my tax PDFs and things like that, and it's really good. That's the only proper tablet thing I do, is I sign my tax PDFs, load it up on the tablet, put it on my OneDrive, it opens on my tablet, sign it, close it, send it back to the accountant, and it's great. And I go, well, there you go. That's how it's supposed to work. That's exactly how this is supposed to work. And so none of this, print it out, sign it, scan it, trying to get it back into a PDF and all that. There was something else about Windows 11. Last thing I hate was the new way that you do the Windows docking. It's awful. It's just awful. And the fact that you can't close windows by swiping down, you're always dragging them to the bottom edge, and then you have to try and get them back up again. The whole tablet experience is just rubbish now on 11. So it's basically like a Windows machine with a touch screen that, works for half the things you want to do. Doesn't work nicely. In any case, here we are with the Surface Pro 8. Before any of these batteries give up or my phone gives up, I'll quickly get this open. I'm concerned that the phone will overheat or something and then stop. I've done that before. Shall we start with the keyboard? So this is for the Surface Pro X and Surface Pro 8. The X being the non-x86 Pro, so that's more like the RT. Can't remember if they got Atoms or Qualcomms or whatever ARMs in them, something like that. But it's App Store only stuff, I think. I think they might be a little bit cheaper. I think that's the point. Fine if, the RT is good, that would be fine for that as well. Obviously no good if you want to just install anything on it. Now, instead of making the Surface come with the keyboard and the pen, they made them always all separate, but now you can get the, there's a little opening thing. You can get the keyboard with the pen. So that's what I've got here, because I'm going to give it another chance, because I'm stupid, that the pen will work. I mean, they got to get it right in the end, don't they? From what I understand, Apple gets it right with these sorts of things. So now we have a flat pen. That's fine with me. Okay. I hope this button isn't a necessity, but it probably is. Ooh, that's weird. Oh, I wonder if that's going to be using the vibrating thing, because it supposedly has a haptic sort of a motor in it, so that when you're drawing, depending on pens, etc., you'll get a different feel on the screen. That should be interesting. Hopefully this is still an eraser, and you just have to turn it over and do that. And it's possible that it moves, because maybe that also gives you a bit of a squeaky haptic feedback thing. That would be interesting. The tip, yes, it looks like it's replaceable. Just make sure I haven't just destroyed it by giving a little tug. No, that's just a... It's a it's like a 3.5mm headphone, stereo headphone jack. Yes, it really is. It really is. How weird is that? I guess because it's got it needs the tip sleeve and the middle there. Gosh. All right. And that now sits in there. And it sits in there. Oh, it's magnetic. So that's good. It finally has a place to store. Remember how they used to sort of hold these on the side of the computer and say, yes, you can put it on the side of the Surface and it'll sit there. Well, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. You'd be stupid to do that, because you'd lose it. And then they charge you untold amounts of money again to replace it. Okay, that's nice. I'm a little concerned with, and that's what we'll find out in this video. This keyboard, I actually don't use it like that. I actually have it like that most of the time. Unless I'm going out, it's like this, because it protects my keys. I have that on the back, and I'm not touching the keys all the time and mucking them up, because I have lost a key through screwing it up. And so I do that, and I use that in bed like that. And in bed I'll go like this, open the stand, and use it like that. And that's fine. I've been doing that for years now. Go down and up like that. And it means the keyboard is not hanging over your chest, when you're trying to read. It's just out of the way. It's like a stand, and that works really well. I like that. It stops it flipping over backwards in bed too. So that works really well. I do that. I'm a little concerned that all this extra length, does it have extra length? Yes, it does. Let's see. So I didn't know that. There's about an inch extra length. Is that going to make it Can you flip it the other way? I'm just hoping you can flip it the other way and do the same thing. That's what I'm hoping. Oh yeah, so if I flip it the other way and then fold it up, is it going to hang over the edge like that? That's the concern. That's what I was thinking is going to happen. Because chances are nobody at Microsoft nobody there now does this. I do it, but the thing is, it's the right size. You see, it fits nicely. Folded back on itself from either side. It does. We'll see if it does. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And they say this one's a lot stiffer. It feels stiff. I never had a problem with the warping. That was not an issue for me. It's going to do this fold-up thing, so this all hides, which means we're going to have a big bottom bar on the big bottom bezel. And I bet that's why they got rid of, dragging down to close stuff, because that was always a problem. We drag down to close and actually you can't quite get to the bottom edge. And also on the RTs where you could swipe, your gesture was swiping up from the bottom edge. Of course, you can't do that if this thing's, using that space. That there must be a big fat magnet in there. Oh, this is that's because of the pen. So we'll see how this works. It's got to be good after this many revisions. I'm assuming it's backlit. Better be. I'll assume it's backlit. I didn't actually see that. I didn't actually check that. The previous one's backlit. Doesn't say. I don't know. Well, we'll find out. Obviously, I'm not going to set up the whole thing on this video. We're just going to have a look at it. Am I missing a little pull tab? No, I'm not. Yeah, longest unboxing ever, but I don't care. I don't care. 11th gen Core i5. Another comment about that. At one point I talked myself out of getting this on sale because I thought, look, if I just wait in a year, they're going to have the Alder Lake versions. And I bet they're going to be so much better in terms of battery life. I looked up quite a few reviews of this, battery tests and so on. And it's quite variable. Quite variable. Some people, great battery life, some people not so. I'm thinking if it's as good as my wife's Surface Pro 6, I'll be happy. That's, probably 10 times better than my my Pro 5. So I'll be happy with that. And obviously this is cheaper, I'm betting, than it would cost me more to get the latest thing in a year. Okay, very nice. Let's just see what else is here. None of the accessories are compatible, which is a shame because now I've got keyboard and pens all sitting around. Maybe the pens are, I don't know. Okay. Another brick. Is it a fast charger? I guess 65, yes. That does not look improved. It looks just the same as always. Even though this is just magnetic, it still screws up on this edge right there. Always does. Always does. Just sitting in bed, just, mainly because that edge where you plug it in is so low down the side that the cable goes like that. So what I've been doing is I've been running it through the side of the computer and putting it upside down like that from the rear. Just try and stop it messing up there. Yep, just a standard lead. All paper stuff. Nothing in there we need. And now this box can go back in the cupboard with all the other Surface boxes, can't it? Nice box. God, that's tight. Put that away. Now, on here it says microphone, camera. The cameras were always terrible. I'll tell you that now. Not so much the selfie cam, the webcam, that's fine. But the other side, terrible. Never looks good. Volume up and down, fine. So that's on the side again now instead of on top. And the on-off switch is now over here. I always thought these on-off switches should be recessed. On my Pro 5, I was constantly hitting it and turning the computer off. I'd put it down, I'd attach. I was always hitting that off switch and turning it off while I was carrying it around. And I see that sticks out just as much. It's clickier. It's a bit clickier than my... I've just turned it on. A bit clickier than my other one. Ooh, it's like Christmas. I got black. I got what they had in stock. They only had black, which is sort of what I wanted. And they only had the black keyboard, which is also sort of what I want. I got the last keyboard, the last Surface. There we go. Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. What movie's that? Surprised to still see these cooling edges along here. I'm pretty sure maybe by the time when the Alder Lake comes out, it'll be completely fanless. I expect those Surface Pro X's, they're probably fanless. Okay, well that's pretty. Oh, I also want it to be brighter. My Pro is just not bright. My wife's one is a lot brighter. So I'm hoping this one is going to be bright. The tests against the iPad Pro and so on.
To set up your device using a screen reader, turn on Narrator by pressing Windows and Control and Enter. For more accessibility features, press Windows and U, or select the accessibility icon in the bottom corner.
Where are the other languages? It's just for setup. Okay. I think it's just for setup. So hardware. Yep, goes back just the same. That sounds fine. That's all good. There's no flop in it. There's no flop in it. My other one had a bit of flop, but it lasted very well. No problem. My country is... there. Everyone else is all hung up on bezels. I'm not. I would rather have a place to carry it from. You know, like on phones and so on. I hate the bezel-less design because you're constantly touching it with your hands and it's just a pain in the ass. So I'm not hung up on that. This is a lot narrower. We'll see. I can carry it like a phone. It's very near, but I certainly can't. I'm going to be touching the screen. We'll see how much that matters. Top and bottom are still full size because they need to be. US keyboard. Skip. I'll do that while we're here. What is it? Got that? Okay. I have some rude neighbors. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. They're also noisy, because obviously I know which ones that is. Okay, checking for updates. Now, again, we're just check a few more things here. This is all different. Power socket is different. There's no more SD card slot, micro whatever SD slot. I used that quite often. That was a saver sometimes because I haven't got one on my desktop. And so whenever I have to use like my dash cam or my security camera or something else I have, my recorder, my Tascam, things like that have an SD, a little micro SD. Well, now I can't. I used to use that in the Surface and then get whatever the file is onto that, and then I could just stick it on OneDrive and get it on my computer. Now that's all gone. So it means you have to buy an adapter. which I'm not gonna, so I'll just have to do something. If I get an adapter, I'll get it for the desktop. So that's a bit of a pain. People love the Thunderbolt. They're always like, oh, we've finally got Thunderbolt. Oh, it's Thunderbolt, hurrah. I couldn't care less. I mean, it's great that it's got it, but I've never had a Thunderbolt device, and I don't know what I'm going to buy that is going to be Thunderbolt. I mean, I'm not going to plug it. I understand you can plug external GPUs in. No, I've got a desktop. Not going to do that. Speaker slots are still there in the same place, just up there. What else can I look at? Nothing. I think that's about it. Earphone socket, same place. Oh, let's put the keyboard on it. Bang. Okay. Ugh. It's going to have to get used to that. But it works, and now you can't get to the bottom of the screen anymore. Gosh. That's really tight. I'm surprised they've done that with the bottom bezel there. Let's just let this come on. We'll let this come back on and see how high that is. That's very high. Come on, magic. Touchpad looks nice. That was nice on the previous keyboard, except for the only issue I had was that this lip here, oh, my touchpad was also cracked right there. It is glass after all. I always hated this lip here. You know, it's stupid. All of them did that. They have this, you know, it doesn't merge nicely into this Alicanta stuff. All right, so I just wanted to look at how high this is. Yeah, I mean, the lower edge of the screen, this is now below the upper edge of the keyboard. So as it starts to get floppy and bend more, I mean, I can see the lower edge of the screen, but I can't touch that low. So I always thought that was a bit weird that it was like that. So you end up using it like that. Let's see if this works as a toucher. Oh yes, the thing came up straight away, the little cursor. And it's just as jerky as it always used to be. Flickery and so on. That may not translate into bad behavior on screen, but it certainly looks pretty flickery now. Okay, I'm going to go away and set this up. Last thing I wanted to test was, will this work the other way? It attaches. I can use it like that. It's definitely longer. And if I go like that, okay, well, yes, it is sticking up, but it's not terrible. That's all right. I can cope with that. That's not a problem. As for this rounded feel, you know, they've gone the distinction with the Surface, because Microsoft had to distinguish the Surface from the iPad, and so they did that initially with sharp edges, which suited the Windows 8, the tiles. Remember that whole look of the flat square look that they brought in, and everyone followed that on the web and everywhere. I still like that. And so the device itself followed that same design language, and that was why that was like that. And so now they've gone round, and the iPad was all round. Everything's round, like an Apple was, everything's round. And so now Microsoft has gone round. It's all round. I'm not fussed. It actually does feels a bit cheaper. I actually quite like that sharp edge. I understand these are aluminium now, not magnesium. Well, whatever. We'll see how it lasts. Pretty sure that's a big plastic bar in there at the top. It's probably got antennas in it. So that top there does not look like aluminium to me. Just the corners do. Yeah. But that's fine. And it's nice to have black as an option, like the original Surface. All right, we'll leave it there. If anyone made it through this far, thank you for watching. Ask any questions, because I may do a follow-up about either the tablet, just with my experience with it, battery life in particular, and performance with the 16 versus the 8. That's going to be important to me. I'll see if it really makes a difference. And I'll also follow up with the pen, see if that works well. And is the keyboard backlit? It isn't yet. I'm sure it will be. Don't know. Maybe when it's finished, it'll become backlit. We'll see. So I'll do a follow-up, ask any questions, and we may see you again. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.